Hello, this is Mrs. Taylor, and I want to just review the steps you take in your calculator to solve an equation. So what we established in class was when I have an equation, I can use my calculator's graphing abilities to solve that equation. And what I do is I treat each side of the equation as two separate equations. And what that looks like in your calculator is you go to the y equals menu and you enter the left side of your equation in for y1. So that would be 4 and then 2x minus 5. And then you enter the right side of the equation into y2 in your calculator. And when you graph, what you should see is two lines that cross. Now we can't quite see their intersection, and we need to see it in order to continue with our next steps. And it looks to me like these lines are traveling towards each other in the upward direction. So what I want to do is I want to extend my y-axis. I want to make, instead of the y-axis being cut off at 10, I want to make it cut off a much higher value. So the way I do that is I can go to Window, and that would be my highest y value, which would be the y max. And so if I go down to y max and change it to a larger number, I'm just going to enter 30. I can enter whatever larger number I want. But if I press graph, you can see that it extends the y-axis. And I still can't quite see where they cross. So I'm going to go and adjust it one more time, make it 60. And I should see it now. Okay, there we go. You can see where the two lines cross. Well, the reason why that's so important is because where those two lines cross, that's your solution. And so if I go to my calculate menu, so second and calculate, see it's in blue above trace, I want to calculate their intersection. That's option number 5. It's going to go through 3 questions, and I can explain to you the meaning of the 3 questions, but the short version is just that you just press enter, because the cursor's on the first curve. You can see up here in the corner, it's y1. If you hit enter, it should move to y2. It does. Hit enter again, and it says guess. So what we could do is we can move that cursor up to the intersection, but that's not required. Really, all I have to do is press enter a third time, and it gives me the intersection of 8, 44. Now it's 2 numbers. The solution to this equation is only going to be one of them, and it's a huge clue. The variable in the equation is x. The solution is the x value, so x would equal 8. Now that 44, what that represents is the value you would get if you took 8 and substituted it in for x. And I can check my work. I can use my calculator to do that as well. So I can type in this equation with the x value that I found substituted into the equation. So instead of 2x, I'd have 2 times 8, and then minus 5, and I get 44. And then testing it in the other half of the equation would look like this. And again, I get 44. So this is the solution because it makes both halves equal. And visually what that means is that they intersected that x value. So that's just a really quick run through for using your calculator to graph equations and solve them. Don't be thrown off by something like number 4, where it has a y value. Your calculator needs you to enter your variable as x, but it doesn't matter that you switched it up. You can just write it to remind yourself as 4x plus 8 equals 2. A variable is a variable is a variable, so it doesn't matter what variable you choose, but your calculator needs you to choose x. And then the right side of the equation is 2. If I graph that, I still have that same viewing window as before, but if I can see where they cross, it's not a big deal. If I'd rather go back to the standard view, you can press zoom, and option number 6 says Z standard. So once you choose that, it will give you that standard window again of -10 to 10. You can see the intersection a little bit better. So then we go to second, calculate, option number 5, the intersect, and then again press enter 3 times, and it gives you the intersection. X equals -1.5. But remember, in our equation, it wasn't an x, it was a y. Don't be thrown off. This y value is not the same as this y value. This y is the x value on my graph. So your x value is your solution. And that's how you can use your calculator to solve equations.